This episode would not be possible without the generosity of our sponsor, DuckDuck Books. DuckDuck Books is an Asian American, mama-owned publisher equipping parents with sustainable products that inspire a diverse worldview, cultivate emotional intelligence, and introduce language learning for their little ones. Learn more at duckduckbooks.com. In today's episode, I talk with Malik about his new book, Malik's Magic African Alphabet Hat, and the inspiration behind it. He also tells me about the significance of a pineapple to him, and we definitely connect on that because that is our logo as well. We also talk about the intersectionality between the music industry and mental health and how important it is to respect your boundaries. Welcome to the Color of Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephanie J. Wong. Well, today I have a very special guest. I'm super honored. Malik Adunni is a global connector, music maven, and co-founder of Gold Credentials, a platform that creates, collaborates with, and activates artists to work with brands to engage their fans. He has worked in music for over 20 years as a tour manager and event producer globally, helping to produce 3 large-scale shows at Coachella, and also worked at the Summit Series based in Utah. He's a proud alumnus of Los Angeles County High School for the Arts and UCLA, class of 1998. Malik serves on the board of directors of Beneath the Waves, a nonprofit research institute that focuses on ocean and shark conservation. He is a board member of the One Heart movement, bringing people in need together, unifying our national and global communities to overcome challenges and support those in need, and emphasizing wellness and mental health. So a man of my heart. He also serves on the UCLA Entertainment Industry Cabinet and as an ambassador for both Puppies Make Me Happy and Thanks You Made My Day. In all that Malik does, he aims to spread happiness and positivity through his involvement in all of these organizations. One of the greatest things that I learned is he's lived in London, England, Cape Town, South Africa, Sydney, Australia, etc. He even was in Japan where he taught English as a JET program teacher in Kishiwada, Osaka. He considers himself a global ambassador, having traveled to 44 different countries. He is thankful to be a co-author on a book with his mother, who's a retired associate college professor, whose perseverance enabled her to obtain a master's degree at 67 and to complete a whopping 13 LA marathons after 50 years old. The book is in honor of his father, Abdullah, who encouraged him to travel. #rebirth the world. Malik, thank you so much for coming today. I know, you've been through your challenges this past week or so. Welcome to the show.
Well, Stephanie, thank you. I really am very excited to be here on the show, especially after we met several months ago, and being a part of When the Music Stops. And the panel that we had was very inspiring for me because I think the whole thing, that was kind of one of the first times that we had a bunch of people together collectively in a room to kind of discuss the things that we go through on an everyday basis about what people deal with. And just meeting you and Nina and everybody on the board and Theo, it's just like such a great opportunity to be able to be with all these folks that really care about wanting to be a big positive change in the world. Because I think the whole thing about it is that like we need to have our voices heard, and for us to be able to speak up and be able to say that, even though the world seems like it's in a very troubled place, is that we still are able to embrace each other and be able to help each other out, which is a big important thing for me.
The really cool thing, and we'll talk more about When the Music Stops, because it's really an intersectionality of mental health and music, is that all of our crew, I'm sure Josh thought about that, but all of our crew was from the Bay Area, and we had that like instant connection, and everyone's just really chill and open and, like you said, positive. Why do you think it's so important to have that intersectionality between music and mental health?
There are a few reasons why. I've been working in the music industry for 20 years, and unfortunately, I've lost a few people to mental health, suicide. And the first time it happened was in 2006 with one of my dear friends. And this is before social media was really around. Mm-hmm. It was a very taboo conversation. A lot of people didn't want to discuss it. I was still going through a lot in regards to just understanding how I wasn't able to be that supportive for that person. But what it taught me from that experience is that a lot of people are going through a lot of things that people don't talk about. And I think the whole thing about it, like now with social media, we're able to sit there and have some sort of discussions. But I always feel that, like, if you're really having trouble, that you should definitely reach out to a professional. I'm a good listener to my friends, but I don't ever want to give advice to people about anything in regards to those situations, because that's not what I'm skilled at in terms of like a professional. But what I am skilled at is regards to listening to people, and sometimes talking too much, but I'm trying to be more of a bigger listener these days so I can just help everyone out, just because I think the whole thing that I learned is that everyone's going through something at this day. And the whole point about it is just to make sure that you're able to sit there and not only talk to someone, but also listen to. So you have to make sure that, like, when you're speaking with your friends and colleagues, just to make sure that everyone understands that, everyone's going through something, and that's not a negative thing. Some people are going through very positive things, but just more about giving the space to be able to have a conversation and make sure you're being heard.
Absolutely. And I mean, in your experience in the music industry, what specific challenges do you feel people face? Not just the artists, which you can speak to, but also, the people that work together to make these productions happen.
I would say a lot of it has to do with the fact is that, it's not a 9 to 5 job. That's the whole thing about it. Is that, like, most people see a lot of pictures or videos or everything because that's what they see, that the social media world. But as a tour manager, is that, like, you have to advance the shows, which means you have to, like, book hotels or talk to the promoter. And the whole thing is that you also have to remember is that all these other people that are doing the bookings are also doing the shows. So no one really has any downtime. So come Monday or Tuesday, it takes people a couple of days to have a moment to,
Breathe.
yeah. And then after that, it's back to the same schedule. So I think the one thing that I've learned over the last couple of years, especially now with COVID, is that it's one of those things is that, we had a year and a half off almost in regards to, like, for me, work wise, I didn't think I was going to work last year at all. And I was very fortunate to work with Nora and Pure and Book of Shade, and also work with I Heard SF for New Year's Eve with Galantis, and just be able to, like, be a part of these opportunities to, so, I still feel like, it's, we're still in a pandemic, but we're at least coming out on the other side where people can just be respectful and just understand is that, like, everyone's kind of going through something, but the whole thing about it is just everyone needs to have a break, have a moment, have a minute, and to be able to just recharge, because that's what we need.
So how can we strike a balance with social media in terms of showing more of the realism and not filtering it so much? But obviously we don't want to be super depressing either. I mean, how do you see us striking that balance to help people and at the same time, like, still enjoy our lives and share some good things?
I think that there's a lot of artists recently that I've looked at on posts that are really talking about the subject, not just artists. We've got Music Cares that's supportive, which is started by the Grammys and other artists and other people. And also, just like you said, it's just, it's a team. So there's a lot of people that are working on these events. It's like you got the front of house managers, you got the tour managers, you've got the publicist. It's not just one person. And I think the whole thing about it is just making sure that we all have support. And I do believe that recently there has been, well, not just recently, but the whole thing, there's always been support, but I think people are now able to just open up and be able to ask for support, or to look for these things to be able to help each other, which is something that's very important for me. And that's why I'm thankful to have these different outlets that are out there that, like, are part of this industry that really want to help people out. So that's a very important thing. I also think that in regards to social media is that, especially for artists, is that, I've worked with several different artists who've actually told them their story about how they feel, or, and what they've gone through, or unfortunately didn't be able to make it through. And it's just more or less for other people to understand is that, like, it's a challenge. It's like, to be able to, like, get on an airplane at 6 a.m. in the morning, get to a show, like, have to do sound check, do all these different things. It's a lot of work. I don't think a lot of people know exactly what a lot of people going through in the industry, because what they do is only see certain things that are kind of the
The end product.
Exactly. But, like anything else, it's just more about just being genuine and real about how you feel. And, not every day is going to be good. Not every day is going to be bad, but at least we're here for it.
Absolutely. And I think, When the Music Stops conference was one of the biggest productions I've been a part of. And I know you've been like global scale, but for me, it was like you were one of the key people, even though you were on a panel with me. In general, you were chasing people down, making sure that they were in the green room, like you kept track of everybody. And I was just so impressed because I was like, I'm just chilling on the couch till it's my turn. And then I'm doing my interview. But you were literally kind of an orchestrator throughout the entire thing. So, I mean, I was just so impressed.
I want to say thank you. Actually, one of the things that I have on my resume is I'm a fighting fire specialist. And then I also have this term, it's called juggling fish while herding cats. So
I love that.
yeah, it's just like literally before, it's just like, it's that there's so many different things that are going on. You need to make sure that people are in their place. You need to make sure all these different things. But for me, the special moment about that event, because actually that day, actually the day before, Josh had asked me if I could stand in to be on the panel. And I was very appreciative to be able to be up there. I mean, I wasn't expecting to be up there, but then to be a part of the panel and to be able to talk with all of us, I felt that like, the whole thing is like every panel that was up there had people that actually made an effort to want to come out and discuss their feelings about what's going on. I mean, this is, like I said, July, like it's the first time that everyone's kind of getting together, you know what I mean? And the whole thing about it is that, as we can keep transitioning through what we're dealing with the pandemic or endemic, it's more about just kind of just being kind to people. And then also, besides being kind, is also just understanding is that the one thing that happened after that event was just I met several people who reached out to me afterwards who said thank you for what we talked about on the discussions about how we're showing people that the industry has like any industry said there's different things that are going on, but at least we're addressing these issues. And that's why I'm very happy that Josh has been the forefront of creating that. And then you've got Space Movement with Britt Bronson, who's been help for me in regards to conversations about just having an open space for people to talk. Because I think sometimes is that, especially during the pandemic, is that, we all went to Zooms, and we went through these things. And, you're in a Zoom on a Friday morning with 13 people you don't know at a Space Movement thing. And the whole beauty of it is that you don't have to talk. You can just listen. There's no judgment. And the whole thing about it also, like they said, is that, we're not counselors, but we're here to help each other out. And there's other things. I think that's the biggest point, is that what I would like to see, which I think is happening with the different programs that are going on and people want to support each other, is that we're just kind of throwing out like a lifeline, in the sense of just saying, look, I don't know who you are. You don't know who I am. If you want to talk, you can. We're all going through things. But just to have that support is something that's very special. And I think that is something that I think that we all need in society, because at where things are right now is there's so much confusion and things that are going on that a lot of people don't know where to talk to or whatever. But the point is, though, is to be able to have conversations with people, or to listen, or to actually ask for extended help, is something that's very important for all of us.
Yeah, and peer support is just so important. I mean, counselors and psychologists and psychiatrists could only take us so far. I really believe in an integrative, community-based, holistic approach to health, and that includes mental health and physical health. And obviously, with the pandemic, it's showing the real importance of both. And so, yeah, Britt's amazing, and I think discussing specific challenges that people have, even though there's like a commonality. So I have to ask, throughout your career and even now, what challenges have you faced and continue to face, and how have you coped with them?
I would say when I was touring, that one of the things that I never really thought of, which I should have, is that, if I get on an airplane on Wednesday, I get home on Sunday, I need to like have a break. Like I need to be able to sleep. I need to what we talked about is like, those 2 days of kind of getting everything back was more or less kind of that, but also is that respecting the people that you're around, your friends and everything like that. It's just, you need to make sure that you're talking to them about how you're feeling, because the whole thing is exhaustion is a real thing.
Yeah.
I think the whole thing about is that for me, what I learned from touring last year, I got the opportunity to tour again, and I did about 30 shows last year, which, I mean, I'm surprised I did 30 shows because during the pandemic, I didn't expect to work last year at all. And, sometimes when I toured, like the most shows I ever did was like 106 shows a year.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But I mean, the thing is, so that's me as someone who's on the road. And I mean, there's other tour managers or people that have been on the road longer, but it's more about how I feel about the artist and making sure the artist is okay. Cause I think that's the biggest point about it, because the artist has different levels of stress in regards to not just doing the shows, but also they're still making new music. They still have to do PR, they still have to do all these different things. And I think that's the one thing about it, which I think that a lot of people are starting to understand, is that like, it's pretty grueling. You know what I mean? I mean, for example, yesterday, Adele canceled her tour in Vegas, postponed. And, I saw the video and watched her. And I mean, I couldn't even imagine what she's going through, because she's been wanted, like the whole thing is about expectations, but also understand that we need to still be in flux.
Yeah.
Other thing about it is that we can only control what we can control. And when you're doing a mega production like that with, I probably say 60 to 100 people, or, hundreds of people, or if you want to add the thousands of people that bought tickets, whatever, is that there's going to be some disappointment about it, but you have to be in flux and understand is that people are doing this because they care. It's not about, they don't want to do this. And that's the one thing I don't, when I look at social media sometimes and I see comments or things, I try to not look at those comments, because I don't think people really understand what those people are going through, because they mirror that person for what they see in terms of the music that brings them the joy to them, but also everyone has feelings too. And the last thing somebody wants to do is cancel the show.
Oh yeah. I was going to say, that's the artist, what they go into it for, right? Is to perform and be that, share their gift. And it hurts them just as much as, if not more than the fans.
Right. But yeah, I think that's the thing, is that I think a lot of people, need to like actually understand that and resonate with it. And, I think the whole thing about it is that most people, I mean, it's sort of like the highs last like that, but the lows people dwell on. But the lows are the lesson to make you understand, is like, how do you not feel that way again? How is it something that you can change? And that's something that, I think everyone struggles with, is that, like, it's sort of like if you wake up in the morning and you stub your toe on a Lego. It's like a lot of people will just take that feeling and have it for the whole day, rather than understanding it's like this little block, it hurt and you're going to got to keep going. And I know the analogy is, because I don't have any Legos in my house, but just think about when you stub your toe or something that just happens that, such a small thing can interrupt your whole day. But how if you take that small experience, which interrupted your whole day, and how do you change it to make it fix your day? So those are the things that I feel a lot of people can work on.
I love that. I love that. And yes, I was crushed when BTS canceled the tour. I was holding on to the tickets for 2 years, but then they came out here, and then 3 members got COVID. And I was like, they're not ever going to come back to America until this thing is over. So I was like, I was like so lucky to be able to see them. And it was such a battle, just like is for Adele tickets. But I agree, is that it's a symbiotic relationship between the fans and the artist. And people just try to do the best by each other, as that's all we can hope for, really.
Very true. I mean, that has to even deal with promoters that are doing all these big festivals, is that, we're 2 years in, like they don't want to cancel a festival, but they want to be safe. And I think the whole thing about it is that, it has to deal with other people's expectations about things it is, but at the end of the day, it's all about safety and understanding, is that if something's not supposed to happen, then I understand that, the disappointment factors. But I always, like, the one thing I remember, like when like 2020 hit, I said, you have to be in flux. Like, in flux means is that if you don't feel like going out today, I mean, this is like now, but I mean, during COVID, it's like, just chatting with people or whatever. It's just like, you have to respect your own space. And some people don't understand that. And it's a hard thing, because there's disappointment factors on the side of it. But at the end of the day, we all need to learn how to kind of have our own moments to understand what we're going through. And also, have the respect for other people to just apologize and have it in the sense of like those type of situations. If you missed a concert or missed a dinner or whatever, and just everyone needs to just understand is that you just need to be comfortable with what you're comfortable with. And that's one of the big things I always try to say.
Yeah, the boundaries. Well, let's talk a lot about your projects here. First, I want to say, what is Sir Henry Pineapple? Because our logo is a pineapple with a crown. And then my neighbors told me that pineapple means something different to youngins. So I'm like, I'm confused. I don't know what to do, but this is our logo. So tell me about your your pineapples.
Okay, I will. So I went to Hawaii like 10 years ago, and I went to the Dole Plantation, and I was
Mhm.
like, where are the pineapple trees? They're like, no, pineapples grow on the ground. I was like, and I was just like, wait, they actually grow on the ground? Because, this is pre-social media. I mean, social media is around, but the whole thing about it is that like coconuts grow in trees. So I thought that,
Mhm.
but the whole thing about it is that pineapple stands for hospitality. Uh,
Yep.
I used to work for Thomas Jack. He was a big pineapple fan. I mean, that's kind of where it kind of got started. So that was like 8 years ago. And I was in the Bahamas with my friend Anthony when I was doing one of my Beneath the Waves trips. And we're like, you know what, we're going to name it Sir Henry. And I was like, that sounds like a great name. And the reason why, it stands for hospitality, it's the good vibe tribe. And basically, even though on the outside it's thorny and crusty, but inside it has a crown inside. And it's just basically, I mean, I've had some interesting conversations because the thing is like we have an Instagram for Sir Henry Pineapple. I take him to festivals. I mean, literally Glass Animals had Henry on stage. And it was just kind of the thing is that people just, I don't understand it. Your story about the upside down pineapple, that's a new thing for me too, which has something that I'm not a part of, but it's
Neither are we. Let's be very clear. Color of Success was not. It was
yeah.
similar vein, right? Hospitality, warmth, and then also, we really work with a lot of Asian Americans, and so just this idea of welcoming and also having this crown on this hospitality and really expressing success.
Well, that's the thing is because if you go down to South Carolina, like they have a huge pineapple fountain. It's been around forever. I think the whole thing about like with social media it just depends on how you want to spin the story. So that's why we created Sir Henry Pineapple. So that way we can spread like just the good vibe tribe. It's just literally
I love that.
everyone just really just vibes with it. And it's funny because there's been other festivals that I've not been a part of, but people send me pictures of pineapples the whole time because it resonates good vibes. So
Mhm.
if it's not Henrietta Festival and it's a pineapple that makes you happy, that's good. But at the end of the day, it should be the human inside holding the pineapple
Mm.
that's showing the vibes because that's what we care about. What we care about is just like spreading good vibes and being a part of a society of understanding is that yes, we're all different, but inside we're still the same.
I'm just brainstorming because, I was like, this is why we did vibe at the panel. But I'm like, oh, next book collaboration, we need to like come up with this, these sayings and this theoretical framework. But aside, you are an author, you're a co-author with your mother,
Yeah.
and amazing woman. Maybe we should invite you both back to have a joint interview. But Malik's Magic African Alphabet Hat. I want to read it so that I make sure I don't like tongue tie it. I read it to my children yesterday.
Oh,
And Rashad Malik Davis is the artist, the illustrator of the book. It was gorgeous. Tell me more about the book. The more in-depth discussion of the inspiration.
well, my father passed away 17 years ago. And when I was tour managing with different DJs, I used to buy him hats in different countries.
Mm.
And when he passed away, I buried the hats in England, Australia, and Spain. And I wanted to honor him. And I mean, that was a good way of honoring him. And in my mind, it was just more or less is that like I was able to bring him back to where he never got to go to. Well, he never went to England or Spain, but those places he did travel. He was in the Korean War and
Mm.
did some traveling, but I wanted to honor him in that way. And when he passed away, I was kind of like trying to figure out what to do with my life. So I was living in London, working for a big music festival, and decided that this is probably a time to like do something that I wanted to do. And I've always wanted to live in Japan. I wanted to teach English in Japan. There's a program called the JET program. And I was a theater major in college. So I did I loved Kabuki theater, the no theater, just the food, the culture. And I reapplied after my dad passed away, and I was accepted. So I went to Japan. I taught English there for a year. I was at Sanyo Koko High School in Kishiwada, which is Kishiwada is in Osaka Prefecture, and it's like between Osaka and the airport. And no, it was great. I mean, just the kids, it was team teaching. So I didn't know any Japanese when I went. I literally had culture shock. I was completely sort of it's like COVID shock. It's like you're alone and you're by yourself. How do you figure out what to do? And the kids resonated with me when I started actually learning some Japanese and participating. But also, I was trying to figure out what's the communication things that we need. Is it like when you travel, you need to know where's the train station? This is all before Google Apps. Before a smile was the way to get around, or a nod. And when I was teaching the kids, I was just like, you know what, maybe I should make a children's book for my dad instead. So let me focus on doing that as an idea. And started working on it, 17 years ago, and kept saying, I'm going to put it out. I'm going to do it. And then I, hit a kind of writer's block. And I was just completely like, I need to get my mom involved, because my mom, Oni, she's my inspiration. She's just someone who has helped me understand that, there's good people and bad people. And what I've learned past COVID, there's good people and bad people, but good decisions and bad decisions. And some people that are good are making bad decisions. And what if we could teach the bad people to make good decisions? So that's kind of the thing. So 7 years after that, my mom finally got involved, and she initially was hesitant because it's a very tough subject to discuss about losing a parent.
Yeah.
And we just really kind of hit the ground running, and, she just really got really involved. And in 2020, January, she actually wrote me a letter. And actually it's crazy because the letter was titled, it was January 21st, 2020, is that we're going to find an illustrator and do the book, which is now 2 years later. And I was introduced to Rashad Malik Davis through another friend of ours who's an illustrator. And she said, you might like his work. I looked at his work. He's written two children's books that went indie children's book of the year, Carefree Like Me. My mom was just like, I want to hire him tomorrow. And I said, Mom, well, let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Don't send him the check yet.
Well, it's more like the Malik thing. She's just like, it's just Malik, Malik, Malik. And, it's funny because my sister's names are Lisa and Robin, and my brother's name is Joe. So most people, like, when they look at my name, they think I'm, from Africa. Some stage, I am, but I was born in LA. Mom's from New York and Texas. But point was, it's just that we really got that idea and we kept going. And then obviously in March, COVID came and we got shut down. And we just took that time to be able to use it, because for me is that I felt with COVID, or with the pandemic, is that people were educating, complaining, or thriving. It's just one of the things. It's just like, it's just one of the things is like I educated myself because I couldn't work in events anymore. So I had to figure out other avenues about what events were going to happen. It could be live streams, which now we're probably going to go into a hybrid situation. But just to be able to take that time and finish the book was something that was very important, because it's something that actually I got to hold and I got to feel. And also in regards to just to have this legacy created with my mom is something that I'm very touched with, because the whole point is just it's first of all, it's not easy writing a book. I never literally, I was looking at some of my old posts from 6 years ago. I was like, book's coming out. And, no, but the point is it's done. My mom and I are very happy that it's finished. And just to get pictures from my friends when they send me their kid reading the book. One of my friends actually FaceTimes me. My friend Nicole's son Bodie, he's 3, and he actually because usually when people call me on FaceTime and it's a friend, I can tell if it's someone I haven't spoken to in a while. It might be their kid on the FaceTime, because my last name's Adunni, so they just press it. Mm-hmm. But actually, he just called to ask questions. He was just like, he's like, is your dad still here? And I just tell him, I said, Bodie, unfortunately he's not, but he's still in my heart. Mm-hmm. And the whole point about it is that this story is allowing us to be able to have them keep living forward, and that's the whole beauty of it is to be able to sit there and create something where, have it finished with my mom. She's 84. She's 85 years old now.
Phew.
I know. And to have it done is something that I can't even explain how special it is. But also, like, to be truthful, it's not easy either, because we're different generations, different ways you want to work, just in terms of time and just learning Google Docs or whatever, but just more about just the whole process of being able to have it finished. And no, it's a beautiful accomplishment that I'm very happy to have done. And there's a lot of Easter eggs in the book. Henry the Pineapple's in the book.
Oh, I have to look for it. I mean, I was reading it. I was trying to it was bedtime, and then, trying to wind everybody down, but I was like adamant. I was like, I'm interviewing Malik tomorrow. We have to read this book. And then they're like, my daughter, my oldest, was like, this is a really good book. And I'm like, yes, it is. And my coworker and close friend at work, she's from Ghana. So I
Yeah.
haven't shared the book yet, in terms of like the content, but I definitely am going to buy more so I can give them to the children's classes and stuff like that. But I mean, what a special book. You can definitely feel the warmth, and I'm sure he would be so proud of it. He is
I
proud of it.
thank you. I feel his presence all the time in regards to just that kind of feeling, in regards to just wanting to have it done, because you don't make books to make money. Like, that's one thing. I mean, just to finish a book in general is a huge accomplishment. For me, is what I'm very thankful and proud of, is that, I'm teaching people that Africa is a continent, not a country. I was very fortunate to live in South Africa for 4 months, and living there was, well, South Africa is like, it reminded me more of Europe than Africa. And I got to go up to Mozambique and travel
Hmm.
around and see it, but it's just more or less, it's just the people and the vibe, and just understanding, like, I mean, most people, because of my name is Malik Adunni, think I'm from Africa, but I'm from, America. But point was, is just to be there in South Africa and meet the people. I was working in music events. We did a party at an ostrich farm, and to have the stars down and have like
I
20.
did see the ostrich farm in the book.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to be able to just kind of have all these different things that I got to experience in my life, and to be able to share it with people is a huge thing. I mean, trying to find, like, for example, with the book, is that, it starts from A to Z.
Mhm.
There's not all countries named from A to Z, so I chose different landmarks and places, and to be able to, like, my mom did a lot of research. Like, for example, Kina, Qena, in Egypt. Like, I was trying to figure out a place with Q. I mean, we got Qatar, but it's not in Africa. It's in the Middle
Mhm.
East. It was just kind of like, all right, well, and finding Kina was great, because actually, to find out that Kina is not that far from the Sphinx and all the rest of the temple, like everything there that's in Egypt, and to be able to find out it's a World Heritage Site that's focusing on the various women goddesses and whatnot, was something that was very special. And the whole thing is just like, I feel that, like, no matter what age you are, someone's going to learn something from it. And also from that is to be able to just really kind of help with the world the way we're in right now, is that when we get to open up and get to travel, is something that's beautiful. I actually this week I had two friends of mine that don't know each other. One's at Kilimanjaro, one's in Uganda, and just to be able to see them, like, my friends with the gorillas, I've never been there, to see that, it was just like amazing. And she didn't even know about the book, and so when she gets home, she gets to check out the book and just kind of really kind of live those experiences to help other people see that, there's so much other things in the world that we can focus on and look at and have these experiences. And uh, people are starting to travel again, and maybe these are the places that you want to go to.
Yeah, we recently got back from Kona, and they have a pineapple fountain. PS. So that was really cool. So, what's one question that you wish someone would ask you? I know you talk to a lot of people, but
um that's a very interesting question. I guess the question I would say is, with all the adversity that you've dealt with life, how do you still try to stay so positive?
and what would your answer be?
My answer would be, is that every day is a new day. And that, especially what I learned during the pandemic and all the different things that we're going through in regards to uh, losing family members or friends or people or race or politics. And the one thing that I've been able to do is just kind of embrace the whole idea of just being kind and also respecting yourself and boundaries. I mean, that's the biggest thing about it, is that, like, we're all going through things, and it's all about just how do we help each other out, but also help yourself out, because that's the one thing that, like, I've learned recently, like I was telling you before, is that, like, I consider myself a good listener. However, sometimes I'm not listening. And when your friends can tell you that and they can talk to you about it, and you can just go into a conversation and just say, how are you doing? Rather than just talking about yourself, even though, like, you're going through your own stuff, you just need to be very cognizant that we still need to make sure that, like, though you're going through things could be good, like, I got a new job or whatever, or you're going through some sadness, is that you just need to make sure whomever you're speaking to sort of still give them the uh, same time to discuss maybe what they're going through. And not all friends are like that. I mean, that's the whole point about it. But during this time period, I feel that, like, just making sure that you're able to just be able to be open and make sure it's not a one-way conversation, and also accept when you're wrong is something that's important, but also respect yourself if you feel that someone's not respecting you. And that's the biggest thing about it, that a lot of people don't understand, because that's not they're used to. And I think the whole point about it is like, the more that we're able to communicate and have these discussions about how you're feeling and how they're feeling, is something that's important. And also understand is that if there's energy, well, if there are things that bothers you about certain people that keeps coming up in conversation, and you feel that you've tried to change it and it can't be changed, maybe unfortunately it's time to just have a little break and just kind of take the time and just kind of focus on what you need to fix. Because I'm not here to fix people's problems. I'm able to help out, but you also need to fix your problems too. And the only way you can do that is respecting yourself and taking the time from it. It's not like, this is not a thing that's going to change tomorrow. This is not a thing that's going to change in a month. It's just more about, I think the society that I believe in and what I want is that people just really respect each other. And if we can't respect each other, then just, respect each other by not talking to each other. That's one thing I believe in.
So, what is some language that someone could use to communicate their boundary? Because I think that's the hard part, right? People say, "Oh, just say no, put out your boundary," and I say that all the time to clients. But I encourage them to really have a few sentences or phrases that can help practice, so that you can see it. What are some ways that you communicate your boundary?
I would say a lot of it has to do with the fact is that if it's a conversation that I'm not uncomfortable with, I would say, and before I used to say, can we talk about something else? And that is a definite way of shutting down the other person.
Hmm.
And that's something I used to do all the time. Like, can we talk about something else? Because in my mind, I felt like, okay, well, I'd like to talk about something else, but you're not actually listening to the other person. Instead, saying, this conversation makes me feel uncomfortable. Can we talk about something else? Because the whole thing about it is that, like, if you're always just coming from a me place, the only person is going to hear me. But instead, if I'm coming from a me place where I say that I am feeling uncomfortable, and you keep having that conversation, then you're not respecting me or them. So the point is just being able to say it in a way, which I do now, and I just say, this conversation, like, people want to talk to me about the news, and, like, I don't watch the news, and, like, I'd rather not talk about the news. Can we talk about us? Like, I'd rather talk about what you and I can discuss is about us as two people, not about everybody else, because that's not the point. The point is that when you have a conversation with someone, it should be about the two people that are there, rather than all the other things that are happening. Because if we could, you know, we could talk about everything else in the sky forever, but if you're taking that time to actually pick up a phone or have a FaceTime or talk with someone, you're taking the time to really have a conversation. And it's more or less about trying to really create those boundaries to really help people understand on how you feel, but also how they feel. That's the biggest thing, because I really believe, as I'm learning myself even more and more, it's more about just making sure that, like, even though I'm going through my stuff or everything, I just need to make sure that if they're taking the time to have a conversation with you or be a part of it, then you need to also have that conversation with them and make sure that they feel comfortable to be able to discuss as well.
I feel better just by talking to you. It's amazing. So I'm so glad that you're able to share your nuggets of wisdom or your Easter eggs, so to speak. So how can people stay connected to you? Where can they learn more about the book and purchase it and all that good stuff?
Yeah. So you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can also buy it from maliksmagichat.com. It's maliksmagichat.com. So that's www.maliks, MALIKS, MAGICHAT.com, maliksmagichat.com. Also, besides that, there's different other, like if you're international, you can buy it on Amazon, but just have to say the response has been just amazing in regards to, like, one of my friends, he's in Australia and he's reading the book with his kids. They send me photos. And for me, it's just like, I can't believe that I have a book that is around the world and my friends and other people are sharing it. And that's the whole point. It's just to be able to sit there and to have friends, kids that are now inspired to want to go travel, and not just Africa, but just travel the world, because it opened their eyes is something that's important, because that's what happened to me. I mean, I was very fortunate to live in all these different countries and travel, and just opened my eyes about, even though I couldn't have a communication conversation with someone because they were different, we just respected each other because we could see that in our eyes and our moments is that people just want to be people and with kindness and lead that way.
You can communicate kindness without having a common language. And that's what I love about music, is that it is a language in itself, and it does transcend borders, boundaries, languages, as we've seen, as music has been distributed more globally with all these apps and these streaming platforms, and of course the shows that complement them. So Malik, thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, like I said, kindness is emanating from you. And I think that's why you connect with so many people. It feels like, you're the only person that you're listening to or talking to, which is like a really special gift. If you weren't in music, you could be, part of our crew in psychology. So
Well, it's interesting is because part of my job as a tour manager most of my jobs in life has been a counselor. And I think that's the one thing that resonates with me, is being able to help people out in regards to, UCLA. I was an orientation counselor and teaching kids, especially because I was a theater major. And as a theater major, the one thing I learned is, like, I didn't go to college to become an actor. Like, I went to college as a theater major to learn and study more, but those are one of the jobs that you don't go to college for, in regards to, like, expecting a job out of it. But the beauty of it is to be able to talk to students and people that really believe in their craft and they're doing it because they love it. It's interesting because, I went to UCLA for theater and ended up working on the background and working with artists, is because I understand that artists are people too, and that we all are people going through our things. And the way that we support each other is just treating people like human, and understand we got our good days and bad days, but we just need to help each other out. And I am very thankful for this opportunity to speak with you. And I look forward to just talking to you more in regards to upcoming projects. We have a second book that should be done this year too. And no, it's just it's a beautiful thing to have that opportunity to meet you and our panel, and to really just have that experience, especially during one of the first times we're actually getting together with people, and to sit there and just go, we really are here for each other, even though we don't know each other. We're all different. And the point is, we're different in certain levels, but at the end of the day, I believe at the end of the day, we're all the same in the heart. We can be.
Yeah, there was such synergy there. There is such synergy there. And just, I agree. The whole thing was just eye-opening, and people came out of it with such warmth and excitement. It was fantastic. So I hope we can continue to collaborate, and yes, let's show the book on camera. Look how gorgeous that is.
So yeah,
It's gorgeous.
yeah. I'll just show one thing, because I'm not going to give all the Easter eggs away, but just I do want to show one thing that I always love is this one of this is Nelson Mandela and Diana Ross.
Yes, I saw that. My dad was listening too and was like, wow.
I've always been a fan of both of these amazing people who have done so much together, and in the sense of bringing people together, like you said, with music, and to have these concerts, like we had Rite Aid, you had, Hands Across America. Music has always been a point to be able to help bring people together. And I want to keep using music as a tool, and also being an artist and creativity to help people out. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to the Color of Success podcast. Listen, like, subscribe on all major streaming platforms, YouTube, IG, and if you want exclusive content, you can join our Patreon. All links can be found at colorofsuccesspodcast.com.